Welcome back. So I just want to talk you through two examples quickly that would hopefully kind of bring to a point, or let's say a conclusion, all of this talk around knowledge funnels and orders of design and wicked problems and complex and complicated space. Okay, so I spent quite a bit of time setting the tone for this because it's very important foundational stuff that you need to learn. Now, you've all obviously seen an oil tanker. We know that an oil tanker travels the high seas, and in order for us to steer an oil tanker, I don't put any force on the front of this ship. It's just too much effort's required, and I wouldn't get very far. So an oil tanker steers with a rudder. And what you may or may not know is that this rudder has a small rudder, a little guidance rudder on it, which kind of looks like this, sitting at the back. Now, in order to steer this floating city, if I want to turn that ship right, I turn this little rudder to the left, shifts the main rudder, and the floating city actually course corrects. Now, this is a little bit of an analogy towards what we refer to as levers. And what we want to do is, in an organization, we want to find these levers. Those are the pieces that are important to us. Now, if you recall, when we spoke about the problem-solution space, we looked at the problem-solution model, the abstract and concrete, and we said that the natural response was to go problem into solution space. Crime's too high, get more police. Month-end reporting procedure, let's do a BI project. Okay, that natural knee-jerk reaction. Whereas the design process travels this way and seeks to find what is the true nature of the problem, especially since we've classified it as complex. So really, a lot of the things that exist at the bottom here, they tend to tackle everything that's above the waterline, the naturally obvious things that don't really give you much return. And I see this often with how people create products. They haven't really looked at the broader ecosystem. They haven't actually gone through a proper design process and really identified the true nature of the problem. And they've invented some project that a customer says that they like, and off they go. All right. So there's some interesting challenges in that space. You just build it and they would come. But we asked the customer about it. Well, you don't just ask, you have to observe, you have to participate, you have to do a deep ethnographic study if you're really going to get true value out of the exercise of interacting with your customer. So really, to do that, those things are below the waterline. They're not naturally observable. You know, there's a thing called a Hawthorne effect, and if you're observing a customer, they're going to behave differently. If you're asking them questions, they're going to give you a response which is effectively going to, hopefully, what you want to hear. So interviewing them and observing them isn't always necessarily also the silver bullet. So we'll deal with a few techniques that you can use to get around that. But really what we want to do is we want to try and identify this little guidance rudder that's under the waterline. And it's also counterintuitive. So that means that if I can identify that piece, the whole ship can turn. Now let me talk you through a bit of an example of an aerospace customer. Basically, this customer had downscaled its organization significantly, and they had gone from 20,000 customers down to 1,600. And Six Sigma, lean, architecture, strategic planning, anything you can imagine that I would be considered to be top of the waterline had been thrown into this organization to improve their productivity and produce stuff faster that was lighter. Being an aircraft manufacturer, weight's very important. To no avail. All right. So this actually is a complex problem, and it's third order, bordering on fourth order type of problem, and it's hidden beneath here. Now, in most situations, you can go and you can interview, you can look for process improvements. Those things have all got some value, but unless you get down with the actual nature of the problem, you do research, right? What is observing people, right, and doing deep studies on their behavior and why they made certain decisions, participating in the things that they do, and asking them generally, why did you do that? You know, what were you thinking when you did these types of things? But also in this case, participating to figure out, well, what is going on here? Where is the toxicity occurring? So you can imagine an organization that's gone from 20,000 people to 1,600. There are huge cultural issues. And all those other techniques didn't work. Every consultant that's coming, oh yeah, there's another consultant coming with a new framework, and still doesn't resolve the problem. Now, to cut a long story short, this lands up to be, we know it's a people problem because often those are complex things, and we know it's got something to do with affecting productivity. And ultimately, it's a cafeteria that needed to be built. And that cafeteria was subsidized food and invite the executive to come and eat with the staff, creating more of a pollination effect that the right word? Collaboration type effect. It's kind of like ants in the way they communicate with each other. It's like smokers, and smokers seem to always be in the know because they're outside having a smoke, chatting to the other smokers, passing information. The same principle occurs as humans. We interact and we pass this information around, and through that type of process, which was a lot cheaper than other multi-million-dollar projects, you had a significant benefit to the productivity of this organization. So you can see that what we have to do in this particular example, the cafeteria was just one of the little levers that could pull, and turned out to be quite effective sitting at the bottom. And there's a multitude of those types of examples out there, but hopefully you get the idea now. Well, these are the little pieces that we need to look for, and that's the process we need to go through in order to identify those levers. See you soon.